In last week's video, we looked at making some test pieces for an upcoming window grill project, but I didn't talk a lot about why you should make test pieces. Today, I want to give you 7 reasons that come to my mind on why it's important to make test pieces for any significant piece of work you're planning on. The number one reason is certainly to check your measurements. If you're doing layout work and you are making assumptions about how much things are going to stretch or how much things are going to upset, and you're wrong, your piece isn't going to go together right. So it's really important to double check your measurements, make a test piece that tests all those assumptions, and then make the adjustments. If you have to, make another test piece, do it again. But that way you know your cut list is right, your layout is right, and when you're doing the work, you know it's got the potential to result in the piece you want. So if it doesn't come out right, you can make those little adjustments, upset a little bit, draw it out a little bit, and probably it's all going to work out. But if you don't do test pieces first, you may be off in left field somewhere and it's never going to work out the way you think it's going to work. The second reason to do test pieces is to test your technique. Have you refined the skills to do the work the way it needs to be done, or do you need to continue to practice that some? I've got some projects around here that I'm planning on doing that I still need to practice the basic technique. The idea works and I've got a good idea what the design is going to be, but they're just some of those little elements that I haven't got figured out. I don't have the technique perfected to get that just the way I want it, so I'm still working on that, still doing test pieces. Depending on the project, this could be a matter of weeks, months, who knows, even years if it's something you're really passionate about and you're really challenging yourself to do something way outside your comfort zone. Sometimes the design you see in your head, or the design the customer explained to you and said that they wanted, that you're now trying to interpret in real life, isn't really practical. It just isn't going to come together the way you think it is or the way the customer thinks it is, and you need to test that design. And that would be the third reason to do test pieces, is just to verify that the design is doable. If it's not, this is the time to make changes and make adjustments, and it goes along with both of those other things. This whole process is one of testing certain parameters and then refining and adjusting those until you get something that works in all of these different aspects. But it is true that some designs just really aren't practical with the techniques and the tools that you have in your shop. Are you going to give up, have something water jet cut, something done by a machine shop, or are you going to change the design? That's another really good reason to be doing test pieces before you get too deep into the project. Now, if there is a customer involved, doing test pieces and being able to walk up to that customer and say, this is a sample of what we're talking about, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is just one corner, but it's life size. You see what the joinery looks like, the textures, they can hold it in their hands, you can go put it up where it's going to go in their project, and they can get an idea what it's really going to look like. And if they aren't going to be happy with it, it's way better that they're not happy with this little test corner than they are with a full-size project, especially the bigger those projects get. The fifth reason that I can think of to do test pieces is to test your finish on the piece. Frequently in the shop, I'm just using hot finishes. I'm using wax or oil of one form or another. Heat the piece up, put it on there, really super easy, super forgiving. But the bigger some of these projects get, the less practical that becomes, and you got to start worrying about other finishes. You got to worry about cold applied finishes, maybe paint, maybe powder coating, maybe even galvanizing or something. And a test piece is a good place to work with those finishes and see if you're going to like them. Now, you may not want to pay to have something galvanized or powder coated for a test piece, but if you got a good reputable company to work with, they already know how to do that. But if you're doing it yourself and you're going to paint it, or you're going to use some sort of a cold applied wax or oil finish, it's a good idea to test that out on something that doesn't matter so much. And of course, when we got into the test pieces, one of the first things I noticed was that I didn't have the tools that I needed. So testing the process and the techniques, also a matter of testing your tooling to see if you have the right tooling. Good time to stop and make the tools you need, or figure out how you're going to adapt tools that you already have to get the job done. A lot of that decision really depends on how big a piece this is. Are you going to just do 2 punched holes and you can punch and drift them and get them right even though you don't have exactly the right punch that you'd like? Or are you going to do 100 of them? And certainly if you're doing that many, it is absolutely worth the time to stop and make the tools you need to get the job done right. So that's just all kind of a judgment call of when to stop and make tools, when to make do with tools you have. But if making do with tools you have won't get the job done, you either need to change the design or you need to make the tools. There's just no getting around it at some point. And speaking of tools, I'd like to take a moment and thank Ken's Custom Iron for sponsoring today's video. Ken's Custom Iron is a home of quick tongs, rapid tongs, and a whole lot of other tools to help you along your journey as a blacksmith. The quick tongs and the rapid tongs sold by Ken's Custom Iron are pre-cut tong blanks that make it easy for you to craft your own tongs and adapt those blanks to whatever you need. This pair of wolf jaw tongs was just flat jaw tongs from Ken's Custom Iron that were easily modifiable into the wolf jaw style of tongs. But they have lots of other styles of tong blanks. They've got knife maker's tongs, railroad spike tongs, scrolling tongs, all sorts of different things in two different sizes. The quick tongs are the larger size and the rapid tongs are a little bit smaller, but they come in very similar variety of styles. Additionally, these H13 chisels were provided by Ken's Custom Iron. They also have top and bottom rivet setting tools. If you're in the market for a power hammer, Ken's Custom Iron has a couple of different sizes of air-supplied power hammers that might be just the ticket in a small shop. So regardless of whether you're just getting started and need something that makes making your first pair of tongs just a little bit easier, or whether you're shopping for your first power hammer, it's worth checking out Ken's Custom Iron. Now, what's the final reason to do test pieces? Really, it's simply to have a physical portfolio of your work. These test pieces then become samples of your work that you can refer back to for years to come. How did I do that? What were the measurements on this? Remind yourself of what you did. Of course, if you take notes and write it down, that helps too, as long as you can figure out which one of the 300 notebooks you got on the shelf has that particular project in it. Being better at cataloging that stuff than I am really would go a long ways. But again, if you're dealing with customers, they want to know what that twist you described to them looks like. Well, you can take it off the wall and you can show it to them and they can get an idea. And they don't like this one. Well, you got a dozen more of these things you can show them. You've got various parts of window grills and other test projects that you've done. And they can take a look at all that stuff and you can kind of come to a decision on what their project's going to look like. And it might really help sell your work in the long run.